showed you from the beginning all the way to the end. The full news conference from the Secret Service giving the latest updates on the Donald Trump shooting investigation. And it wasn't a lot of new info out there, something that we have been hearing for more about the communication level that wasn't there with the Secret Service, as well as the local teams that were put in there as well. So we want to continue, though, to break this all down and bring in our next guest here of this hour to help break it all down for us. A friend here of the program, Bobby McDonald, former Secret Service agent. Thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Mike, great to see you again.
So, so this was an update that really the public has been really craving for, and it did not seem to deliver on the facts of more information that, or new information that came out.
Yeah, not a lot here new. I think there was a little bit of a walk back of the inference and the finger pointing to local and state law enforcement with respect to the incident on the 13th. I think there was a continuation of the highlighting of the communication problems that went on here. I'm a little bit concerned on the highlighting of why certain elements weren't in either the command post or the security room. Those are standard operating procedures so that real-time information can be passed to different agencies who are on different radio frequencies. So just some questions here, again, that we're really not getting a lot of answers to. And while I don't wish any ill will on any of my brother and sister agents, I think we really need to see somebody either put on administrative leave while this is going on, just to show that there's some initial accountability. If the investigation reveals that everybody did everything that they were supposed to do, terrific. But we're really not seeing a whole lot of immediate accountability. I understand the integrity of the investigation and due process. But again, this is a very unique situation. And tomorrow we're going to be 21 days into this thing.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think what a lot of people are frustrated with, too, just learning that when you think about just how close the proximity from that roof to where Donald Trump was, even if you had no law enforcement experience and you were at that rally, you'd say, you know what, that seems really close.
Yeah, I was on with Janae a couple of times this week. And again, not having been there personally myself, but having seen the different schematics and things, that's the first thing that jumps out at you. You know, oh my goodness, it's 150 yards away. You know, that's an 8-iron. That's not a long way, especially for a weapon system that potentially can be utilized at 1,000 yards out. So that guy was hiding in plain sight in and around that building and then getting on top of it. And we had dozens of people pointing and saying, look at the guy on the roof. We have numerous cell phone videos of the guy on the roof. And I'm just, again, a little bit concerned on why there's this fogginess on why that information from the public and other people in and around that area didn't get to that former president's detail in time to keep him off that stage.
And Bobby, I got to ask you, are you concerned with, obviously, rallies are still going on. Donald Trump is still going across the country. Are you concerned that nothing has really been looked at as far as, you know, like you said, nobody's been put on administrative leave. It doesn't look like really anything at this point has happened. Are you concerned that something like that could happen again?
Well, we're always concerned of copycatters whenever we have something like this. And I can tell you right now, if former President Trump or any of our protectees does another outdoor venue, there's not going to be a roof within a mile of that stage that's not covered. So, I mean, this is going to be an opportunity, as I said to you before, the Secret Service to reset and reboot, make sure that it's paying attention to detail and doing everything that it's supposed to do, going over and above now to make sure all the communications, what ifs, and hypothetical situations are worked out ahead of time so that there are no gaps in this plan. You know, we're always wanting to be proactive on the front end of a protective advance so that we don't have to be reactive when something happens during the event. So these are all general, simple principles that the Secret Service uses every day and have been using since the 13th. But we've really got to remain tight as we move into the home stretch into the campaign season and election.
Yeah, that's so true. Bobby, I want to continue our conversation. I'm up against a break right now. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take the final break, and then I'll be back with you here in 2 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this, because I know a lot of people still have a lot of questions, and we want to get them to you right here on Live Now from Fox. So we'll be back in just 2 minutes with Bobby McDonald. And welcome back, everyone, here live now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Thanks again for joining us as we get closer to the top of the hour. We want to continue our conversation right now with the former Secret Service agent, Bobby McDonald, who has been helping us break down the Secret Service news conference that we just heard. So, Bobby, thanks so much again for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And I have to ask you, too, now, Bobby, a lot of people have been wondering, too, about the water tower and how that seemed like an area, too, where they could have had somebody that would have had a really good sight on maybe the whole field and the whole area of roofs as well.
Well, from what I'm hearing from the nuggets of information that have been coming out since Acting Director Rowe's testimony the other day, you know, the snipers, or the counter snipers, I should say, were only there a day and a half or 2 days ahead, if I'm correct. And you know, again, when we're talking about a full-fledged protective advance, the questions come up as to, you know, what were they able to get done? Were they able to liaise with the local partners and state partners that were going to be helping out? Were they able to look at every possible angle or every possible building for vantage points? You know, again, these questions still come up on what were we able to do on the advance element that would, again, help us be proactive and negate all of these potential problems. The Secret Service is all about trying to figure out what are ways for bad people to get us, and then how to negate those in the advance process. And it just, again, seems to me, and I hate to keep saying it, that something obviously slipped through the cracks here, but it just is so obvious that that roof was so close to the stage. We're really not hearing, again, any answers as to why that wasn't covered and or who should have been covering it in the security plan.
Yeah, so true. And another question I want to ask you is Donald Trump said about a couple of weeks ago that he is soon going to return to Butler for a rally. Now, we don't know if it's where it's going to be at in Butler. He wants to do a rally there soon. But knowing the way that Donald Trump is, you would think that he would want to be back at this field. Is there any way that Secret Service would allow him to have this rally back on the field where it was?
Well, if the Secret Service had its way, all of our protectees would never be able to leave their house so that we could maintain a very good protective element around that. But that's not politics. Politicians need to get out, shake hands, kiss babies, and attempt to get votes, especially now in the presidential campaign season. So I think that it's incumbent upon the former president's detail to liaise with him, to liaise with his staff when they're planning these events, to have some conversations. And it's incumbent upon the Secret Service to, again, project to our protectees and project to the American people that we know what we're doing, that we're going to go out there and give a very robust and intense protective element to deny people to be doing bad things to our protectees. So I think there's going to be some conversations. I think there will probably be some concessions on both sides, both with his campaign staff and with the Secret Service. And I can tell you right now that every asset available for the rest of the campaign season, Secret Service assets and personnel from headquarters, from offices, are going to be on the road. They're going to be supporting all of these candidates. There's not going to be a roof within a mile of that place that's not covered. So, you know, all of these things are going to now impact, as they should and will, the Secret Service during our campaign season. But they're just going to have to bring everything they've got out there now to make sure that they are providing, as I said, that robust protective element, whatever the venue or wherever the event is going to be planned for.
Now, in a perfect world, when they had the suspicion out there of this person that they were interested in, they saw him maybe acting a little bit different. In a perfect world, should Donald Trump have even been sent out there? And if he was sent out there, there was, you know, he had about 3 or 4 minutes before the shooting happened there. Should they have been able, though, to pull him and get him away from that stage?
Well, again, sitting here with you, Mike, it's very easy for me to Monday morning quarterback, and I think we need to understand that. But in relation to your question, if certain things had happened that potentially should have happened, and I'm not here to give away the store with respect to all of the methodologies, but if certain things had happened and certain responses or certain interviews may have taken place with this individual, moved him along, scared him away, whatever you want to call it, we shouldn't have had to go through the process. And had that information gotten to the customer, and the customer in this case is the former president's detail, those agents in and around that stage that responded to him in that gunfire. It's my guess that he would not have been brought out at that stage. They would have allowed the continual investigation of the quote unquote suspicious person to continue. And then, we also have the semantics of what's a suspicious person versus a threatening person. And I'm not sure anybody really cares about that. Those of us in law enforcement understand the differences and how that may affect things. But Congress is going to be asking a lot of questions in and around those semantics and why the former president was allowed on that stage. Again, perfect case scenario and all things being equal, he never should have been allowed out there, but they should have had that information to be able to make that conscious decision.
And right now, Bobby, the Secret Service has a deep black and blue eye right now. Is there any way in the public view that they could gain the respect and trust back? What can they do from this point on? Obviously, you can't do anything that happened back on July 13th. That's over with. But what can they do right now to gain the trust back from the public?
Well, we used to rely on our mystique with many of the methodologies and practices that we have. We really can't do that anymore because we obviously had a bad day on July 13th. The Secret Service, through its acting director and its leadership, needs to, as they did a little bit today, stand up and take responsibility. They did take ownership of this problem, and it wasn't anybody else's fault. He's got to regain the trust and confidence of his workforce. The Secret Service motto is worthy of trust and confidence. And I think you're starting to see some of the frustrations of the workforce, and they're getting a little bit restless with respect to the way leadership has handled this situation. From a messaging standpoint, they really have done a horrible job since July 13th. And I also want to say, we don't want to forget that we lost a patron at this event and 2 people were injured. So we have to remember, that there were other people hurt and killed here, not just an injury to the former president. But the director also has to continue with this transparency, honesty, integrity, being able to build up confidence again, not only of his workforce, of the people we protect and the American people. You know that we protect Democrats, Republicans, independents. It doesn't matter to us. We go to work every day to protect whoever we're assigned to. The politics does not get in play. And the Secret Service is going to have all eyes on it between now and Election Day. Every event is going to be scrutinized by the media, as it should be. Every event is going to need to be planned out to the utmost for a robust and very protective event, as it should be. And the Secret Service is going to have to make sure that it dots its I's and crosses its T's as we move forward to do what it knows how to do. We just need to go out and implement our practices and procedures, be the very best we can every day to implement our no-fail policy. That's our mission, and we have to keep doing it. Men and women of the Secret Service since the 13th have been doing it. We have to remember that they have to keep going out and doing it every day, and remembering that politics doesn't play any part of this. They have to let the noise of Congress stay to the side, let the leadership handle those hard questions, and just go out, men and women, do their job every day and protect our candidates and our election season.
And Bobby, lastly, were you surprised as the days continued on from July 13th that there was no updates coming from the Secret Service in a news conference setting? It just seems like, when we have these mass incidents of a school shooting, you get an update from local police and even on the federal level where the FBI will come in. You'll get news conferences, maybe 2 or 3 that day, and then it'll continue on. This was a former president that got shot and almost killed. Why do you think there should have been just more updates really daily?
Yeah, I think the Secret Service really needs to reevaluate its messaging system. The last director, Kim Cheadle, came out and really stonewalled Congress, deciding not to give any answers. Look, when you go up to Congress to testify, Congress already knows the answers to the questions that they're going to ask you. And as I said to you before, there was plenty of eyewitnesses. There were plenty of cell phone videos that were already out there. So to go up there and say, we can't talk about it, we have to maintain the integrity of the investigation, not so sure that's the message to bring. Now, the acting director came out, testified in front of Congress, gave a little bit more information. And I'll be honest with you, I was very shocked and spoke with a couple of my colleagues today. And our comment was, they're going to do a press conference. Again, if we're going to do a press conference and we're going to be transparent, there are going to be hard questions that are going to be asked, and they're going to have to get their messaging together, get their answers together, do their investigation to find out actually what happened here. We need to know. We need to know that timeline. Who did what, when, why they did it, why they didn't do it, and more importantly, what are we going to do to not let this happen again? So very surprised, but I think that the comments, I think it was by Senator Scott the other day at the congressional hearing who basically said, hey, you got to get out in front of it. And I think the Secret Service heeded that advice, albeit I'm not sure we got a whole lot today, but at least they did get up there and walk back a little bit the ownership of the situation.
There we go. So true. Bobby McDonald, always great to speak with you. We really appreciate it here on Live Now from Fox, former Secret Service agent and right now University of New Haven lecturer. We really appreciate it here on Live Now from Fox as always.
Anytime, Michael. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Take care. And we